Hindu and Sikh groups in Canada came together to condemn the attempts to create division among them. They said a small minority of about 3 to 4%, which holds anti-India sentiment, is involved in trying to create these divisions. Acts of violence by these separatists at the Hindu Sabha temple in Ontario, they have revealed the extent to which extremism has been allowed to flourish under the guise of freedom of speech in Canada. India has called on Canada to ensure that all places of worship are protected from such attacks. This report provides context.
India has strongly condemned the recent violence at the Hindu Sabha temple in Brampton, Ontario, carried out by extremists and separatists on Sunday. In response, the Indian government is urging Canada to take necessary measures to protect all places of worship and ensure that those responsible for the violence are prosecuted. Let's take a moment to understand the outrage felt by the average Canadian about this attack.
We saw this coming. Panoon and Sikhs for Justice were screaming that they were going to do this. They were advocating for violence against Hindus on Diwali, for celebrating Diwali. And this man is allowed to come on Canadian television, the state broadcast on CBC, where he advocated for that every Indian Canadian needs to be examined for dual loyalties and needs to make a statement of loyalty to Canada against the Indian government, must say they're anti-Modi or else be considered a double agent.
The clashes, which took place during a consular camp organized in collaboration with the Hindu Sabha Mandir, underscore the urgent need for heightened security and protection of places of worship. The Indian High Commission in Canada noted that similar disruptions occurred during consular camps in Vancouver and Surrey over the weekend.
Chandra Arya and Kevin Vong are the only two elected officials in this country out of the hundreds that were able to correctly determine who was the victim and who was the perpetrator in this attack that was caught on video. And it's disgusting as a Canadian. It's disgusting. Canada's a place where you should be able to worship freely.
Later, the condemnation was more pronounced. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau later condemned the attack, reaffirming the importance of religious freedom, while Canadian opposition leader Pierre Poilievre called the attack unacceptable. Toronto MP Kevin Wong condemned the attack and asserted that Canada has become a safe harbour for radicals and asserted that the country's leaders have failed to protect Hindus. Canadian Member of Parliament Chandra Arya condemned the attack on the temple, saying a red line had been crossed by extremists. It may be recalled that on 29th of October, Canadian officials had told their Standing Committee on Public Safety and National Security that they had leaked information to the Washington Post targeting Indian officials in contravention of all diplomatic norms.
Government shelters terrorists. If you recall that another government and another Prime Minister, who happened to be the father of the current Prime Minister of Canada, took very little or no action on the Kanishka bombing, where an Air India plane was blown up and a very large number of Canadian citizens, be they of Indian origin, but a very large number of Canadian citizens were killed.
Local police have arrested 3 individuals linked to the incident who are now facing criminal charges. This recent attack is part of a troubling pattern of religious intolerance that has emerged in recent years in Canada. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Monday condemned the attack on a Hindu temple in Canada. In a post on X, the Prime Minister said, and I quote, "I strongly condemn the deliberate attack on a Hindu temple in Canada. Equally appalling are the cowardly attempts to intimidate our diplomats. Such acts of violence will never weaken India's resolve. We expect the Canadian government to ensure justice and uphold the rule of law." Unquote.